Well, hello everybody. Today we're going to do some questions on acid-base disorders. I'll just guide you through how to solve a few basic questions that come in the PG entrance examinations. So first we'll start off with the normal values. First you can see pH is 7.35 to 7.45, PCO2 35 to 45, bicarbonate 22 to 26, sodium 135 to 145, potassium 3.5 to 5.5. Okay, and the average values would be pH 7.4, then PCO2 40, bicarbonate 24. Okay, those would be the average values. You'd need them for reference. And then when you see the anion gap, the normal value lies between 10 to 15, and we would take an average of 12. Okay, so you should note down these normal values. Next we'll move on to the steps of solving an acid-base equation. Beyond that we'll take some problems as well. So the steps: first we check the pH, and if the pH is normal, I'll let you know later what to do about it. Usually our questions do not have a normal pH. So if the pH is abnormal, we find the primary change. So the primary disorder would be found by first checking the PCO2 and then checking the bicarbonate. Okay, so if the PCO2 is abnormal, it's a respiratory, the primary disorder is a respiratory disorder. And then we would have to check the compensation, which would be done by the metabolic system. So the metabolic compensation would be done by the kidneys. Compensation. Okay, and then if the PCO2 is normal, we check the bicarbonate. And if the bicarbonate is abnormal, we check the respiratory compensation for the changes in bicarbonate. So the respiratory changes. So in case we have a respiratory change, we'll have to check if the compensation for the metabolic problem has been done sufficiently or not. So for that we will check the respiratory compensation which would have occurred in a normal system. Okay, so for that we'll calculate something called the expected PCO2, which would be due to compensation. Now in a metabolic alkalosis, so respiratory compensation will be seen in one of these two conditions, either in metabolic alkalosis or metabolic acidosis. In metabolic alkalosis, the expected PCO2 value can be found from this equation, 0.7 into bicarbonate plus 21. In metabolic acidosis, you can find the expected PCO2 by this equation, 1.5 into bicarbonate plus 8 plus or minus 2. So it will give you a range. So in case your expected PCO2 is 36 plus or minus 2, then it will be 34 to 38. Okay, so if the PCO2 falls in the range that you have calculated right now, then you can say that this metabolic disorder is compensated by this respiratory change. If it hasn't occurred, and so in case again 36, so if it's 34 to 38, if your compensation should lie between 34 to 38 and it has not occurred, so say it's still 40, so then we have to say that the respiratory system is also in the primary disorder. So in case there's a metabolic acidosis, in normal compensation you have to find a respiratory alkalosis. So if that does not occur, you have a respiratory acidosis present. We say that the primary disorder is also there in the respiratory system. Alright, So one very important point which a lot of people get wrong is that compensation does not make the pH normal. Compensation does not make the pH normal. It only, like, compensation will only make the pH tend to normal. If the pH is normal, then there has to be another acid-base disorder in the body. Alright, so